We start here this hour. The swearing in of members of parliament in Mozambique is expected to take place tomorrow. Now, this comes ahead of the swearing in ceremony of the president of the country, Daniel Chapo. Now, the PODEMO candidate, Venancio Mondlane, has called for protests to resume tomorrow. Now, Venancio Mondlane is back in Mozambique. His call for protests to resume is aimed at preventing the swearing in of the new president of Mozambique, Daniel Chapo, a FRELIMO candidate who was declared the winner of the recently concluded election. Now, the government says the swearing in will go ahead as planned. The outgoing president, Filipe Nyusi, met leaders of political parties last week with the aim of finding a solution to the current political crisis in that country. Let's get you more now on this. We joined via hybrid by SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena. So, Sophie, will the opposition parties attend the swearing in of members of parliament?
Earlier on, I spoke to some of the opposition members, particularly from Renamo. I was told that a decision was taken last week after Renamo had a meeting that they will not attend the swearing in. We don't know in terms of other parties, particularly PODEMO. As you know that the party is now the official opposition in parliament, and Venancio Mondlane was a candidate for PODEMO, even though he is not the leader of that party. So we'll see tomorrow what's going to happen. But we were told that in terms of electoral process, the swearing in of members of parliament will go ahead tomorrow.
And just to pick up on the point that you just made now, Venancio Mondlane has called for protests to resume tomorrow. Any word from government or other political parties?
Well, political parties I spoke to, they are waiting to see how Mozambicans will respond. But in terms of government, there's no word. What we are told is that because of the swearing in, government is ensuring that the security and nothing is going to stop the process that has to unfold in terms of the swearing in. In other words, blocking of roads and all of that. And therefore, we'll see tomorrow whether the Mozambicans themselves will respond to Mondlane's call. But when you look at when he arrived in the country on Thursday, you could see many young people lining the streets and welcoming him. Maybe the very same young people will be the ones in the streets tomorrow responding to this. But what has become clear is that because Mondlane is not a leader of a political party, he was just a candidate of PODEMO. PODEMO has its own leader. It's beginning to become a bit of a problem in terms of how do you ensure that the leader of the party and the party itself is in control. It is not about a personality cult, people looking at Mondlane out of the political party PODEMO. And as they struggle with that, there seems to be Mondlane becoming a party rather than a party having Mondlane as their candidate. And therefore, we'll see what is going to happen when you have that kind of a division a bit or that rupture. You will definitely have a problem in terms of perhaps being able to destabilize the government, in particular in terms of what they want to do. As we know that on Wednesday, the government has announced that the inauguration of the president-elect will go ahead.
And Sophie, do we know how many leaders from SADC will be attending the swearing-in ceremony of the president on Wednesday?
It's not clear yet, but I think the chairperson of SADC, that is Zimbabwe, Emerson Mnangagwa, will be there because any swearing-in of any head of state in the SADC region, SADC head does attend. I think the same might be the case with Tanzania, because right now Tanzania has got the responsibility of chairing the SADC organ troika on politics, defense, and security, and we saw the chair of the organ at ministerial level convening a meeting last week to try and find a solution to this problem in Mozambique, where a resolution was taken to request elders in the region to intervene. We don't know. I think you will be in a position to play a report from Tanzania from Isaac Lukando, which is going to shed some light where to from here. And therefore, I suspect Tanzania will be there. In terms of South Africa, as you know that the oppositions in South Africa and NGOs and other stakeholders, human rights organizations, have called on South Africa to assist. When Samkele Maseko spoke to the president on Friday, the president pointed out that as per norm, members of SADC, the heads of state, are expected to attend the swearing in, and therefore he is monitoring the situation. A decision, a confirmed one, hasn't been taken yet, but maybe today we may be in the position to check with the president 3 days left whether he will be traveling to Maputo. As you are aware, yesterday during that ANC January 8th statement, you had all these liberation organizations from the SADC attending that event of the ANC. And you can see now the liberation organizations on the continent are now uniting based on the challenges that they face. And Frelimo was there. The other issue you heard from the president talking about the coming big summit in South Africa that will be hosted by South Africa of the liberation organizations in the SADC region. And we know that the ANC Secretariat, the secretary that is Sigile Mbalula, and the first Deputy Secretary General Mokoena, who is also the chair of the ANC International Relations Committee, has been interacting with all these liberation organizations, preparing for that. And we know they are also interacting with Frelimo. And therefore, because of this big summit coming to South Africa of liberation organizations, President Ramaphosa wouldn't want to be seen as perhaps sidelining or not supporting the liberation organizations, but at the same time, at government level, he will try to evoke the diplomatic position and policies and foreign policy to try and manage this delicate situation.
And just to piggyback off a point that you just made now around some of the interventions, I know you said some of the elders have also been called on to intervene. Is this likely to maybe make some headway? Are we likely to see progress moving towards a direction, maybe an end, to seeing an end to these devastating scenes that we see come out of that country?
You know, the mediation and the facilitation process, it is not very easy. We have witnessed this on the continent on many occasions because as we cover the continent and as we have been covering the continent and South Africa's foreign policy on peace and security since 1994, with all those different interventions by different leaders, Mandela in the DRC, and then Mbeki with DRC, with Liberia, and the DRC again, and Sudan, and all of that. And Ramaphosa now trying to deal with issues of Lesotho, where he got it right, and then now behind the scenes working with SADC leaders on the DRC matter and the Sudan question. South Africa is still involved in trying to help Sudan. It has never been easy, and therefore that's what's going to happen with Mozambique. It will not be easy. The opposition parties will continue to reject results. On the other hand, you will have government saying we've won the elections, Frelimo, and therefore it's not an easy thing. I mean, look what happened in Zimbabwe. It was very difficult much as the opposition agreed that they will be part of government of national unity at that time, now they are claiming that they were pushed into that. So it becomes a problem that continues, and we don't know with Mozambique how long will it take for stakeholders to find one another. And in terms of these elders, how capable and how experienced they in terms of these kinds of situations when you have these kinds of standoff on the continent or in the region, as we have witnessed in recent times.
All right, Sophie Mokoena is SABC News International Editor. Thanks very much indeed for your time on the program.